All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Doug. Morning.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the agenda for today's meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record the vote as unanimous. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the May 20 regular meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of the minutes from the May 20th regular meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record the vote as unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the May 27th special meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of the minutes from the May 27th special meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record the vote as unanimous. President's remarks. Really none. It's a beautiful day outside. Hopefully we can get through this meeting fairly quickly and have everybody enjoy the day with friends and family. So moving forward, GM report. John.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
First slide, we all know the slide of just a couple of pictures here that the team took, Michelle took for me. Palm trees are big. Everybody likes the palm trees. We put them on the Northgate Bridge. There they are. They're also down at the beach club. It makes you feel like you're in Jamaica. And then the Veterans Memorial Park. Turn the page. So the initiatives is what we're going to talk about today. Next page. Cell service. As we know, somebody came, like we know who it was, Tom came in, challenged us, which is a good challenge. And he's right on the cell service. And Doug asked me to look into it. And Doug is working with me and Josh. So here's what we've done so far. We have reached out to Verizon. They've confirmed, obviously confirmed there is an issue with poor reception. We've given them examples, specific places, people to call, phone numbers that they can keep track of. So they are working on it. They also told us we'll receive updates within the next few weeks on whether upgrades will occur this year. They do have upgrades planned. They believe that will help. Yes, in the summertime, we do have a problem with the self-service. I have it more than anybody. They're blaming it on the trees, on the branches or whatever. We just think it's a lot of people here. OPA should start getting regular updates from Verizon on their efforts to improve the service. They're also looking at, and we're going to work with the county on zonings to try to get a cell tower. So that'll all be part of the work group and hopefully have some good information over the next couple months. Turn the page. The gas stock. So a lot of updates on this last several months. The good news is that the team, everybody, we completed it on time, maybe a day or two before the Memorial Day weekend. I do also have information in the addendum and other, I've gotten some questions on, you have an aluminum dock out there in the water. The safety that I've talked about, all is there, all the grounding, it's everything's there. So you have a product that will last way longer and is more efficient and effective than the wooden docks, and probably even more effective, I'm being told, the way it's designed and built for safety. So they open, we got the 5 pumps, they're all pumping, everything is fine, we just need some good weather. We have an excellent harbor master, and I have faith in the numbers going forward. We certainly have a good product. Turn the page. Oh, they also wanted me to tell you that they are trying to upgrade the shop there. So bait and tackle, clothes, they've really upgraded. There's really some nice stuff, so stop in, especially if you're a fisherman, and there's good stuff in there. All right, maintenance. The team is doing plenty of maintenance. We've outsourced it. Some of the examples are right here in the clubhouse. I did want to paint these bathrooms with all the renovation and maintenance everywhere else, and especially what we did in the admin building. Our team was tied up. I brought in that outside contracting firm or whatever. She did all the paint work. Her team did. They did a good job. We're also doing work up at the yacht club, and I will bring them in also for the bathrooms up at the yacht club, for the pools. We worked on the bathrooms. Somebody informed me of that for the marina. We took care of that. A lot of positive feedback. We will address the bathrooms also with maintenance down at the yacht club. The Bridgewater Playground, they upgraded some of the swings, just a list there, you can all read it, but plenty of stuff happening. The ones I want to highlight, obviously you see at at one of the parks, we put in an ADA compliant ramp. That I believe was requested in one of the board meetings. The landscaping, the Northgate Bridge, we will be starting the trim. You've been hearing me talk about that for months. We had to put that off because of all the other work, the renovation. So we're working on that now. I did get a lot of calls, a lot of info at oceanparts.org. Where's the fountains? So yes, we're going to have 2 fountains. One, we need parts. The parts have been ordered. That's the one you've seen for years. And then I guess the north side, the other pond, we are ordering a fountain from there. So you'll have 2 fountains. You got the cherry trees. We've updated the bridge. So we're trying to do as much, the lights, we're trying to do as much as possible there. I know the board completely supports that. Turn the page. All right, golf. I don't even need a slide for golf. Just look out the window. Just play the course. The course is in excellent top shape. The place is packed. But this, if you want to play, please come down. Our golf pro will definitely find time for you. Place is packed. The greens are great. I was just out there this morning. I'll talk about it more on the financial side, but the base sales numbers are up over 2022. Since Bob's been here, every month has been big increases from the prior year, all record breaking. So golf maintenance, all I got to do is mention the name Justin, the course, they're verticutting. He gave some update on there, what we're doing. Everything is great, operating on all cylinders. We do need an irrigation system. We have a multi-million-dollar course. I hope that during the budget process, and I know we've talked about it, let's now give this team the irrigation system they need. We're certainly making the money, but I'll talk more about that later. Turn the page. Capital items. So, obviously I'm only in we're in the second month of our fiscal year, but that doesn't mean that my team, our team, all of us are already working on capital items. And that's the way to do it. Not, in October, November, December, somebody's running around. So I am already meeting with committees, talking to committees, getting input. Here's a list of items. You've heard me talk about these items before. What I'm going to do next is I'll start talking to budget and finance on them. But let's just go down to Bainbridge Park. We've talked about that before. We want an ADA compliant park. We've gotten input from the advisory committees over the years. I've asked Josh to put out a survey. I know the survey's out there because I saw some stuff on it. So we're going to try to get as much input as we can. We're certainly the team is looking into wherever we can get grants or whatever else is out there. So it is a big initiative. We're certainly looking at that. Right? Anything I'm talking about now, obviously, even in the budget process, the first time I come, it's proposed, but we are looking at it. These are the capital projects we're looking at, and not the only ones. Boat slip, the tolls, whatever that's come up over the last couple of weeks. I think the county, I'm getting input. They've done it. So we're benchmarking. We have a lot of information on it. And this boat slip, I've been around for 15, 20 years on budget and finance too, and it's come up a lot of times. So I am going to reach out to the gentleman who did a lot of work on it. I believe it's Gene Ringsdorf, and in addition to what we have, but we are looking into it. The firehouse, we've talked about that, a little update, but I don't want to take away from Ted and everybody else on that work group. They'll probably come to this board in August. We did say we'd come somewhere around July. We're going to wait a month or two because we're hoping to get more grants, and we want to see the results of that before we come forward. But we do have sketches. In fact, if you look in the addendum section of the presentation, the sketches for the proposed firehouse, proposed racket sports, and a few others. So I am going to add that kind of stuff in there for anybody that wants to look at all that kind of stuff. Irrigation system, that's been spoken about. It'll be the budget process. We got approval this year to start the planning and get the plans and work with the contractor, which we're doing. Racket building, I just talked a little bit about that. The committee came back to me. I will sit down with our team, talk to some contractors, high level, try to see what's viable and what I think or what we think we can move forward or what we actually need. Right, so it's either renovation, completely new building, 1 story or 2 stories. So we're still looking at that. I got the input from the committee, but that's still an ongoing process. Pavilion for Veterans Memorial Park, we are looking at that. I recruited Frank Brown again. He hasn't turned me down yet, him and Ted. So we did some sketches for them. They liked the ideas. And hopefully there'll be some type of joint partnership on that. Turn the page. All right, so I talked about the Bainbridge Park, right? So we formed a work group, ADA compliant. Apparently we had some information. I guess one of the companies, somebody worked with them a while ago. So we are looking at all that. Okay, Linda.
Okay, just going over some record center events. We had an open house on Saturday, May 27th. All went well there. Platform clinics. We've had Saturdays in June. They're still scheduled for starting at 9:30. Tim Johnson, the new record center manager, is hosting. There's a Davis Cup event that was held on June 10th and a pickleball, which is going to be held on June 23rd. Recreation and parks events. We had a field trip for fifth graders, Memorial Day event, Kiwanis Club, car show, and then upcoming events, there's summer camp, concert scheduled, and family fun night. We're just adding a little rules reminder, just because it comes up through info times a lot. All dogs must be on leash. That is a county law. Curb your dog. We do have signs ordered that will be placed soon. And trash cans, they must be returned in the evening of trash pickup and stored not to be seen on the street. CPI violations for May. We had 73 new violations. Most of them were grass and maintenance. We still have 167 open. We were able to close out 8 in legal this month.
What's CPI?
I'm sorry, compliance permits and inspections. Work orders for May, 121 new work orders. 117 were closed out. The majority still open in drainage, 44 open in drainage. And for customer service, 156 total emails and phone calls. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, info@oceantimes.org.
Okay, so those are all proposed sketches. They're in the addendum. If anybody wants to look at them again, they're proposed, they're just sketches, but it's a pretty good idea of what we've been working with. Financials. Okay, so I came forward with a flash, which is an estimate for April, and with that now we have the actual unaudited. These are unaudited. Obviously now it's the end of the year and we have our auditors in, and Steve and his team are working diligently with the auditors. With that said, we did finish April and we did finish up the year kind of in the ballpark, if not right at what Steve and myself were projecting. So we're favorable 36,000 for the month. And that's an actual number. It was, if you look there, it's mostly made up, obviously, of revenues, and then we did have some expenses that were over, but it's mostly due to revenues. I'll talk more about it. Turn the page. Okay, so there's your favorability broke down for the month of April, unaudited. The only thing I want to say there is recreation in -29, which means we're unfavorable in rec, and we were favorable in public works. Depending on where we recorded that and how we accounted for something, or just from a reporting standpoint, we definitely accounted for it properly. You could take that and offset it with the public works, the 29,000, depending on where we had booked it. So, you know, Rec and Parks was probably pretty much on budget. If it wasn't for that one item in public works, probably would not have been favorable by the 59,000. But the big point there, and the point that I'm going to make overall, and I'm going to make even for May with the flashes, golf operations and maintenance, that's your favorability, $52,000. It's just moving along, and that's really, when you look at the 36,000, it's really driven by golf. Golf is driving this place right now, but we're operating on all cylinders, so it's everybody. Turn the page. All right, so in the year to date, I believe we came forward, Steve and myself, somewhere about $1,150,000. We actually came in right about it. These are unaudited, so that number could change. Hopefully it doesn't change. We don't believe it will. But again, if you look at the numbers, and you look at where that favorability, because I do hear, and believe me, I get the emails, and I get plenty of them, you know, oh, the numbers are driven by we didn't fill some positions. Well, it's $1 million, and I've said that before. Over 90% of it is driven by revenue growth, organic. Everybody laughs when I say organic, but it's revenue growth. It's not necessarily revenue that grew by price increases. So when I say organic growth, I'm talking about new revenue that we didn't have before. Why? Because across the board, we have a very good product across the board. We're weather dependent. I can say that. I've been saying that. But when you have a good product, if the weather agrees with us, and especially at our food and beverage, we're gonna make up on the numbers. So that's it. Yes, there is some favorability in there about payroll. Keep in mind that I use contractors. That does not go to our payroll line. And just look at everything that's getting done. So when you add it all up, it makes sense to me. $1,150,000 favorable for the year. Turn the page. Okay, so I pretty much just talked about that. I gave you that. You can look at that golf number. The public works is a big number, but some of that was offset in other places. And we got everything done. We will look at the staffing in the next budget process for public works. But, that favorability, and I just need you to stay with me for a minute or two here. That favorability, we have reinvested. We put that in drainage. We put it to the drainage reserve, and then I hire outside contractors, and that's where it gets charged. So I just need you to go that next step and don't just look at that. We have been for the last 3 years. And on the drainage side, and I don't have the schedule this month, but I will have it next month. If you look over since 2019, we've been putting it to drainage through these type of numbers, this process. We put into drainage $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year. I went back to 5-7 years before that without labor. What shows up on our schedules is maybe 30, 40, 50,000. Obviously, if you put the 80,000, 100,000 in labor for the team, we are doing something. But your work team and everything, we have put that money in. I just need you to go mechanically and go one more step and don't just look at that. But even with that net reinvestment, we're favorable. It's driven by golf operations, yacht club, and favorability and expense, beach club, clubhouse. Okay, so hopefully everybody got that. That kind of ties it together on the questions I've been getting. Turn the page. Okay, so this is one of my favorite schedules. This is I like Steve to do it. But this ties in when you look at our balance sheet, you look at our reserves, and I hear, we got so much money because at the beginning of the year, when all the assessments come in, we do have a lot of cash, but that's the cash that we need for the next 12 months. And so you can see here, what I like about this is it tells me if you go all the way to the far right top, you see the 6.1 and the 430-23, 6.7. So with everything we did this year, with all the capital and all the spend, as some people say, and you can look at our buildings and everything, our reserve balance is still, it went up. And, there were some changes in the HOA and the laws and stuff like that. And we've worked with our DMA study and our outside consultant, and I believe we're good, but we are doing what those regulations are saying, and I think we're in better shape than other places. Turn the page. So flash, right? These are estimates. Steve doesn't have the final yet. There's a number. $150,000 favorable for May. That kind of shocked me too, and Steve. Again, these are a flash. That number's probably going to come down. I was looking at some stuff last night that I think we still need to record, but I can tell you this, we're going to be favorable for the month. It's going to be a number somewhere in that, in that range. Again, a lot of it is driven by revenues. Page. Good start to the year. Okay, so there's the breakdown. Again, golf ops driving it. The admin, GM, finance, and the marketing. So if you take those two numbers plus aquatics, and that aquatics is revenue. I went through them with Kathleen yesterday. It is revenue. That's a big part of it. The others offset, and there are a lot of expenses. But the admin, GM, finance, we have some assessment favorability and memberships, aquatics, the revenue, and everything. Those pools have been open outside of weather so far. The police, I've talked about the police. We are working on that, but there is some favorability there. But overtime and everything else is hitting us. So we have a lot of expenses there, but I don't believe we're negative. The beach parking, Beach Club, look, Beach Club, the Marinas, Yacht Club, the weather hit us. But I gotta tell you, it's still pretty strong, the numbers. So if we get the weather, that hopefully we're gonna show you some good numbers. We have the team, we have the product. Okay, Monica.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report. Monica?
Thank you, Doug. As of May 31st, the association had approximately 18.5 million in cash. Cash decreased from the same time last year by $100,000. Cash increased $800,000 from April of 2023. We have 11.1 million invested in CDARS, the remaining 7.4 million in insured cash sweep accounts, treasury bills, money market, and other operating accounts. And we have diversified between two local banks here in the area.
Monica, thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Please be advised, you want to make a public comment, state your name and your address. And the floor is now open for public comments.
Is this the place you want it from? Okay. So I'm Ann Williamson at 124 Camelot Circle. And yard waste. I'd like to make some comments about yard waste. I read about the policy of picking up a tag, and so I went to Public Works. I picked up a tag, and I could only get one tag. And the issue with that is I'm a part-time resident. We've been coming here since 2005, at most for 4 or 5 days at a time, mostly during the warm weather. And it's been a perennial problem dealing with yard waste and piling it up and finding places to store it and when to haul it. So we have made use of the yard during previous falls. My issue is it doesn't really work for me what the situation is right now. I asked for a second tag so that I could haul some of it with my car when I'm here. And then when it gets really bad in late fall, as we've traditionally done, my husband and I, where we've had several truckloads, okay? And we've stayed for a weekend and dealt with the pileup. I don't understand really why I can't have a second tag for my car. I decided I was going to get the tag for the sticker for my truck tag, because that's really when the worst of it is, the truck is really what I need to use when there's a real big accumulation of the yard waste. I don't know, also with the policies, normally we'd have several truckloads in a day. Will I be able to get an appointment if I can't do this yard clearing before December? You understand?
Yeah, but you
Because
can.
I may not be here in December, so I'm going to get an appointment.
Okay.
Can I get 2 appointments in one day? I don't know how it's going to work.
We can, am I allowed to talk?
Yes, please.
You can get 2 appointments. In fact, I know you sent something in on info. Can you just give me your number and your name? After this, we'll give it to Linda. I'll talk to them about it. I understand your point, I do. I gotta look at the whole place. We have to look at the whole place. Other people with tags would do something else. We'll work with you to try to figure this out, as we do with everybody.
Okay,
right.
thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
We're trying to make it better for people. We understand, you understand too, to manage something for every little individual, it's not easy.
Right,
Give
but
me your number. Okay?
yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
I also wanted to bring up, this is an old problem. I think I brought it up with a few years ago about the crabbing pier and whether anything has been done to replace it. I made the point in a meeting a few years ago. We don't have many amenities in the South Ocean Pines. My husband and I used to enjoy the crabbing pier regularly on weekends. We would never find an excess of cars in the area or any problem. Most of the time, at most, there would be 1 car. So the crabbing pier was not rebuilt anywhere. The broader problem is so what do we have left? behind my house is Robin Hood Park, okay. But so I would ask you to think about replacing it somewhere in the south end and so we in a back lot could have some access to water conveniently. Right now, for all the amenities, I have to drive basically. So I would like an update if anything's been done about that.
So, Rick, can I-
John, yeah, go ahead.
thank you, Doug. Okay, so, and this may not fit exactly, look, I live in the south side also, and I'd love nothing better than a crab and pier, and decisions were made before all of us or whatever. But with that said, I believe today in the capital stuff, we are putting in a pier in Pintail, which we're calling a recreation / that you can also use for crabbing. We're trying that. So when you say an update, we are going to try that. That doesn't mean we're going to end there, but that doesn't mean I can do something. It's not easy to get the permits and everything for this stuff, but I'm actually going to talk today about a pier we're putting in that you can go crabbing on. We'll see how it works out. But I hear you, and I know, I don't know what else to say on that. It was a great pier.
A
for
little
crabbing.
far from the south.
I know, and I said it's not going to be exactly, but I got 8,000 people. I have to, but we'll look in the south too. But that doesn't mean I can definitely do it. If we can, I'm sure the board and everybody will. All right, that's the best I can do right now.
Well, it'd be nice if the homeowners came forward and with some suggestions, about what else could be done in the south.
Right, but what happens? What happens for maybe 3,000 of us, the other 5,000? It doesn't. I mean, it's not like 50 years ago where now everything is developed. And, they're not in my backyard. And I would love to have one myself. And I'm sure a lot of these board members also would too.
Right. The last thing I want to mention is the parking on the the shoulders and on the grass at the edge of people's properties. I noticed I ride my bike around, I walk. People are not using their driveways. Instead, they're parking in places where I have to I have to circle around, worry about if somebody's going to open a car door in front of me when I'm riding my bike. And I know, this is a beautification issue also, and you've made a point of asking people to keep their trash cans out of sight. Well, I see a lot of unused driveway space. And yeah, people may not want to be moving cars when they have to get their car out if they have multiple cars on, a driveway that could fit 4 or more cars. But I think it's worth jawboning at least this issue and get people to keep their cars off those sections that are at the edge of the road, because it's pretty unsightly and it's not really safe. So that's my last comment. I mean, I would urge you though to use your notice boards, your marquees. So that's my third point, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Other public comments?
Hi, Dave Tanner, 65 Skyline Court. Just wanted to make a few comments today about the Racket Center. I was talking to John earlier about this. I think we're probably on the same track, and I know it's somewhat early with this, but we've been looking at drawings. I got to ask the question, why do we need a new Racket Center? Okay, nobody seems to really be able to answer that question. I hear, well, the old building is fully depreciated on the books, so we need a new one. Come on, that's true or not, that's about as good a reason as saying we've paid off your 30-year mortgage, so it's time to tear down your house and put up a new one. That doesn't make sense. The building itself is in good shape. Matter of fact, and again, my compliments to John. I got in there and did some painting and some renovating, low scale, and it's looking a lot better. We've also got some really great leadership, again, thanks to John on hiring a great manager over there who's getting some things done that have been pending for a long time. I've also heard the building could be larger to accommodate group meetings, platform, or pickle, or tennis. That's not going to happen because the county basically said we can't expand the current footprint there. Maybe with some cajoling, I don't know if there's some hope we might get, the overhang or something. We might get a few more feet, but we're never going to get enough that any one of those sports could have a event in there. It's just too small. There's the idea of putting a rebuilding with the second story. That really doesn't have any merit either, for a number of reasons. Firstly, to meet ADA requirements, an elevator would be required along with stairs. The building's not that big enough to begin with. If you take part of your building, which is kind of like this, and now you put in an elevator and you put in stairs, you're going to lose a lot of space on your floor. Okay, now you're losing space, not gaining it. Same thing is true up above. Plus, you're adding the cost of an elevator. That adds substantially. Service of it every year. And what do we gain? What would the second floor be used for? The only thing I've heard is, people would go up there to watch games. It's not going to happen. Let's face it. It's an outdoor sport and it's a participation sport. We're not running something that people want to come and watch. People that go and play there come to play. Okay, and they've got areas around the courts where they sit and watch and rest between sets, and it's right by the courts. That's where they want to be. They're not going to go over to a building and go up a flight of stairs. And the view from up there is not going to be good. They can't see stuff from up there, a lot of it. There's just no justification to spend over $1 million for a new building. Not even close. Even if the building's slightly expanded, there's no way it could accommodate all the members. Right now, what we do, and it works out quite well, we have a lot of events outside by the courts. Pickle does, tennis, platform tennis. We have an area. We have a barbecue there. It builds a lot of spirit and the social aspects of the sport, which I can't emphasize enough. And the current buildings have been meeting our needs. Now, there are some things that we could do by just modifying it, to add more storage space, more washrooms. But the current buildings meeting our needs, and a future one could too. I've been playing pickle and platform tennis for about 13 years. I'm there maybe 4 times a week. I can count on one hand the number of functions I've been at inside that building in 14 years. Use the bathrooms, yes, I guess that's a function in a way. But swipe my card. But in terms of going there for a meeting or something else, 5 times in all those years. It's by the courts that where people socialize. That's where we need to spend money. I'm not against spending the money, by all means, and we spent a lot of money there, fixing up the pickle course and stuff like that. I think that's great. But here's a picture, for instance, of platform tennis. This is where we sit in the corner of one of the benches we sit on. And what are we on? We're on gravel, okay? This is where people spend their time. Sitting in rough gravel like this, it's like a parking lot. This is where we could spend some money. Put a nice deck in there. That's where people can watch and everything, not from spending $1.5 million or more to put in a 2-story building. And I know we're working on a lot of this stuff, and that's great. The advisory committee was asked about, they wanted a 1 or 2-story building. I was at the meeting. Any discussion, any other options was cut off. As one person said, if it's between a 1-story or a 2-story building, let's say we want a 2-story building, it's not going to cost us anything. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But come on, folks, it is going to cost us something. We're talking $1 million here, folks. The question should be, how can we best improve our residents' players' experience? There's lots of new additions we could get that are going to really improve the experience and the value down there. I know John's working on a lot of those. You can tear down a building that's in reasonable shape and rebuild it on the same footprint and spend $1 million doing it, and you don't get anything that you really don't have now. That's the basics.
1 minute left. Got 1 minute.
Okay. I'm just finishing up. Got to think this project out. I know John's going to work on that. I would suggest to the board of directors and new director candidates to go down, visit the media center, the Racket Center. Our new manager down there would be happy to see you, show you around. I think we've got a great facility there. Let's focus on the value-added things that we can do to make it better for all the players. The money would be well spent, and we'd have something great to show for it, not just the same thing afterward. Thank you all.
John, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Mr. Tanner. Very constructive, and a lot of positive feedback and a lot of stuff. So Doug, board, and everybody here, and Mr. Tanner, right, we are looking at that. We did renovate it to see exactly what we can do with that. We work with the county. We go by the county guidelines. If we can do something to extend that for the bathrooms, for the storage, which we believe we need. More important, if you were to rank everything, we will surely do that and look at it. I am going to look at it with contractors. You are right about the upstairs. If you put in upstairs between the elevator at probably 100,000 plus and the stairs, you're really taking away square footage on the bottom, and then there's not much on the top, maybe for some people to look or whatever. So we are looking at that. We are talking to the contractors about that to see what we can do. But just like this building, and I may have the theory wrong or whatever the name was, but I remember when they built the Los Angeles Dodgers ballpark, they said they weren't going to build it for those 3-4 times a year where they have a lot of customers or whatever. And we did the same thing with this building. This building was upstairs, downstairs. We found the right medium for it. We will find the right price range and everything there, whether it's a renovation with some extension or whatever. But everything you're saying is what we're looking at, and I appreciate that. The other thing is the rough gravel. I agree with you on that. I've looked at it. I've seen that. We're trying to see what our options are. Obviously, if I could have paved it or put in uniblock or whatever, we would have. We just got to be cognizant of the permeability and the drainage down there. But we'll try to see something on that. You're right. That's something that should be at the top, and we are looking at it. All right? Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Doug, thank you.
All right. Other public comments? Seeing none, I'll close the floor for public comments. Move on to the next item of business with our capital request. First one is for a limb cutter. John?
Thank you, Doug. Okay, first one, Atlantic Tractor, requesting authorization to go forward with staff recommendation of $21,783.31 for replacement of a limb cutter.
Entertain a motion to approve the expense of $21,783.31 as requested by the GM. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. John?
Discuss it?
Yeah.
Oh, so we need this. We hear a lot about limbs, branches, that type of work. Obviously, with the shortage of labor and everything, and this is a very good piece, this will help us and get us efficiencies in trying to take care of all that.
Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the request for $21,783.31 of expense for replacement of a limb cutter, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record the vote is unanimous. The next item on the agenda is another capital request at John Deere Gators. John?
Requesting authorization to go forward with staff recommendation of $30,449.47 for replacement of John Deere Gators.
I entertain a motion to authorize the expense of $30,449.47 for the John Deere Gators. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
No, it's a replacement. We've utilized them. Everything's budgeted. Everything's been pretty much depreciated. It makes sense to do this. We got good prices too.
Steve?
Just one question, John.
Sure.
What is a gator?
So the Gators, you see these little green trucks with the two people sitting in the front in a cab or whatever. And it's got like a little flatbed in the back. Or, sometimes they're a little different for that. It looks like the 4-wheel quads or whatever.
Other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the expense of $30,449.47 for replacement of the John Deere Gator equipment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record the vote as unanimous. Next item on the agenda is another request from Public Works for a Pintail Park Rec Pier. John?
Okay, so the Gator Dock Marine Company requesting authorization to go forward with staff recommendation of $19,429.80 for replacement of small dock removed during 2022-23 bulkhead replacement, Pintail Park Recreation Area, northern area. Now, I know it's the north and then you want something in the south, but this is what I was talking about earlier. And we'll see how this works out. Maybe we can do it somewhere else too.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the expense of $19,429.80 for the dock as noted. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Does this come out of bulkhead funds?
No,
What does it come out of?
it's replacement.
Replacement?
We had a little dock. This does not come out of bulkhead.
Other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of approval of the expense of $19,429.80 for the replacement of the small dock at Pintail Park, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record the vote as unanimous. Next item on the agenda is a request for the Gator Dock Marine for kayak launch.
Yeah.
John?
Okay, so this is a good one. They're all good. Requesting authorization to go forward with staff recommendation of $61,160.49 for new Pintail Park kayak launch gangway and floating dock.
Entertain a motion to approve the expense of $61,160.49 for the kayak launch.
So moved.
Is there a second? Discussion.
Oh, yeah, sure.
John, so I know that the Rec and Parks Committee had asked about ADA compliance, so I just wanted to make sure that that was
Yes.
under consideration.
It is, yeah, that's the whole thing with the gangway and all that. Yep, and we'll also have some shelves for the kayaks that we're working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the expense of $61,160.49 for the kayak launch at Pintail Park, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record the vote as unanimous. That's it for capital requests. Thank you, John. Next item on the agenda is CPI violations. We have none reported for this month. The next item on the agenda is unfinished business. We have no unfinished business from the previous meeting. New business. First item is motion to approve updates of the financial policy manual. Okay. The motion is to approve updates to the financial policy manual, purpose and effect to address the dated information in the existing policy manual, provide the policies that govern aspects of the financial operation of OPA. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. The financial policy manual was last updated in 2006. Many things have changed since that time, and the manual was overdue for an update. The manual was referred to the Budget and Finance Committee for their review and comment. The manual was also reviewed by the GM, his finance team, and the board of directors. The updates from these reviews have been included in this version of the policy manual. Other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve updates to the financial policy manual, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record the vote as unanimous. Next item of business is a first reading of Resolution B08. Colette.
This motion is to approve, this document is to approve revisions to Resolution B08, Director Ethics and Conduct. The purpose and effect is to revise Resolution B08 such that it is available as a policy statement on the principles of ethics and conduct to guide directors in the carrying out of their roles on the board.
It's the first reading. I'll open the floor for discussion. Any questions, comments?
This revision came about as a result of the discussions we've had in recent meetings about issues of confidentiality. And when the previous version of BOA was laid to rest, it really had to do with the enforcement aspects of that. And so this iteration removes all of that and really just states the principles by which we would expect ourselves to conduct ourselves. And it added a section having to do with the confidentiality issues.
Further discussion? All right, seeing none, please record this as having conducted a first reading of a proposed resolution B08. Next item of business, first reading of revisions to resolution C14. Colette.
This is to approve revisions to Resolution C14, Racket Sports Advisory Committee. Purpose and effect is to revise language pertaining to the function of the committee and the membership of the committee.
Is there a second? I'm sorry, my bad. Consider this a first reading. I'll open the floor for discussion.
This revision is suggested by the Racket Sports Advisory Committee based on their review of the function and membership of the committee. It is the goal of the committee to reflect a function that supports the new racket sports professional serving as manager of the racket facility in his operations role, and to remove themselves from operations matters and to work as a team supporting the best interests of the racket center from the point of view of individuals committed to the center as reflected in their ownership of membership in one or more of the sports and their commitment to the racket center's success without regard to their membership in any individual sport. Advocacy for specific sports interests and needs will come to the committee from representatives from the boards of the three sports, tennis, platform tennis, and pickleball. The committee in turn will advocate for recommendations to the OPA Board of Directors that support the success of the racket center as a whole. The following changes are proposed: changing the function from a monitoring function to an advising function, in which the committee is expected to advise the board on any specific problems or concerns related to the condition, care, and maintenance of the racket sports facilities. And under the paragraph on membership, it is recommended that the committee should have not fewer than 3 nor more than 9 rackets members, meaning people who have purchased memberships to the racket center. And there's a correction in the term pickleball. That is 1 word, not 2 words. And the main thrust here is that the operations environment at the racket center changed with the change of staffing that was brought about when the pro was hired to manage the facility. And so the committee sees itself as, historically, they had kind of stepped in and offered operational recommendations and interacted directly with the staff on operations matters. Now that they have a pro in place to carry out that management function, they need to pull back from that role. But this was their recommendation.
Discussion on this. Just a little point of interest here. If you look at the verbiage on the motion form, I'd assume that's just there. If you look at the actual red line copy of C14 under 4, it says committee should consist of, and then it's got scratch, fewer than 3. It should say consist of no fewer than 3 or no more than 9. If you look at so it's a wordsmithing issue. I want to make sure we're using this copy as the edited one we're looking at. Okay, so it should say no fewer.
It was not fewer than,
It says
so that
no
was
fewer
right.
than 3, so.
So it would be not fewer.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, please record this as having conducted a first reading of resolution C14. Next item of business is a second reading of resolution M06. Rick?
Yes, motion on this second reading is to amend the current resolution M06 on the election referendum. And the purpose and effect is to accept proposal changes on M06 for a second reading, incorporate language from incorporated council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Steve?
Thanks, Doug. I'm not going to oppose, I'll vote for this resolution. I will point out to the board members that bylaws committee had met and considered both the suggested edits from council relating to the change in the contract, which moved us from a local provider, independent contractor, to one who's distant. And also took a crack at trying to align the original draft that Rick had submitted in the first reading with our bylaws and the rest of M06. They spent several hours trying to get it done. And they kept, it just seemed to raise more questions as we went along. My view is that this elections committee had a lot on its plate, had a lot to do. I didn't always agree with the decision, but I certainly wouldn't criticize the effort that was made. My interest at this point with the election coming up is we probably need to get this put away at least for this election. But I do think it is, and I know we'll have a new board, so it's a little hard to align everybody in this, but I do think it is incumbent upon the elections committee, however it's constructed, shortly after this next election, to sit down and align M06 and all of the attachments to M06 with our bylaws, with our procedures, and with an eye looking forward to what we're going to be facing in the future as best they can. And I will run the risk, frankly, of saying that the bylaws committee should do the same. Now, it may be possible they can do it together. It may be possible to make a subcommittee of one, subcommittee of the other, let them meet together to work something out. But this situation where we are faced with trying to get this done with the election coming up in the next 2 months should not recur next year. There are a lot of questions, for argument's sake. Just if the council's draft indicated a change to 5A, there is no 5A. This is 5. Small error, but it should be noted. The cutoff date for the contract was June 15th. The bylaws provision talks about 35 days prior to the deadline in section 301C of the bylaws. The contract has a vote deadline of August 8th, which is a Tuesday. So paragraph 3 of attachment A has it as a Wednesday. These are perhaps small issues, but it reflects the fact that we're rushing to get this done as opposed to just putting everything in the correct order and having a review in place that we know we have gotten all of our ducks in a row. So I'll vote for this resolution, but I would strongly suggest that we need to take steps to make sure that we're not faced with this problem again in the upcoming, after this election is over.
Other comments? I have one, sort of in general agreement with Steve. One of the things I had a discussion with one of the members of the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee, and that is that this isn't the end. In other words, I would expect a couple of things to happen after the next election. Number one, after conducting the election itself, both the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee, the new board, and the Elections Committee will have information pursuant to how the election was conducted. They'll have more data. So I think that it's incumbent on all three of those, specifically the Elections Committee and the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee, to work together to say, what did we learn after this election? We know that we've got to reintroduce at some point online voting. Now that we have all this information, let's look at how it's referenced and integrated with the existing bylaws, what needs to be changed in order to make sure we can conduct elections going forward. So I would fully expect, for lack of a better term, homework to have being done by those committees in order to move forward. I fully expect probably, and if I was a betting man, and I'm usually not, I suspect that this will not be the final change to M06, that more changes will come. Quite frankly, more changes should be expected, again, based on what the teams learn from conducting this election. So I'm in full support of this, but knowing that going forward, some more work will need to be done. Other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the proposed changes to resolution M06, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record the vote as unanimous. That is the end of new business. The next item on the agenda is appointments. The first one is Debbie Bennington, first term Communications Committee. I'll entertain a motion to approve that appointment?
Second. Motion.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of Debbie Bennington, first-term Communications Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record the vote as unanimous. Next item, Amy Peck, first-term Recreation and Parks. I'll entertain a motion to accept that appointment. Is there a second? Discussion? I have one. I have concerns about this individual. I put it on the form. I can't in good conscience personally vote to support this. However, in respect to the directors that remain on the board and the new directors, rather than voting against it, I'm going to abstain. So, other discussion?
Yeah, I would just say that I'm going to support this. Amy has been a resident, part-time and full-time for many, many years, raised her children in the Rec and Parks programs, and has been an inveterate volunteer for almost every Rec and Parks activity, from Bay Day to the bicycle ride. She's really invested a lot of herself in providing good ideas and good support to the Rec and Parks programs. So I'm fully in support of this.
Other discussion?
Yeah, I would just take the observation that we at least always say we highly value our volunteers. We have a dinner for them every year. And appreciate all the work they put in. I am aware that Ms. Peck has raised issues, has maybe even angered some people for some of her comments, whatever. None of that has to do with recreation and parks. I think we set a very bad precedent. If we go through these sort of acid tests as to who should serve on, these are nothing more than advisory committees. We're giving people an opportunity to invest their time in things that they're most interested in. I know what has happened in the past. I didn't like it then, even though I wasn't on the board. If someone had asked, I would have indicated my opposition to having even Stewart kept off the committee. No one asked. But I do think we need to, where the committee chair in this case has endorsed this person to be on the committee, I think we should accept it for what it is. Notwithstanding Doug's own reservations, he's fine to have those. I'm not going to get into that. The other point I would make is there are two nominees on this agenda for Rec and Parks. There are sufficient vacancies on Rec and Parks to handle both vacancies. So there's no reason to torpedo one just to get the other one on. So in light of what we expect of our volunteers and how we treasure them, I would strongly suggest we should approve this.
Other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the appointment of Amy Peck, first-term Rec and Parks, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? One. Next item on the agenda, appointment of Michael Reynolds, first-term Marine Activities Committee. I'll entertain a motion to accept that appointment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of the appointment of Mike Reynolds, first-term Marine Activities Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Record the vote is unanimous. Next appointment is Laura Charles, second term, Rec and Parks. I'll entertain a motion to accept that appointment.
Motion.
Second? Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of appointment of Laura Shell, second term Rec and Parks Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please record the vote is unanimous. That's it for our agenda. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No one's opposed. Thank you, everyone.